Namaskar and welcome to this exciting episode of Sattology Debunking Mythology. Sattology means science of truth or study of truth. Opposite of that is mythology, which means science or study of fake lie imagination purely on etymological meanings. Now, I have to repeat this every show, so please don't mind because there are many new people join on every show. And the I have published 11 books and my 12th is coming out on Yoga Sutra and I will tell you when it comes out for the American audience. And thank you for loving my last book, not last book, one of my first books, Karma is a Bitch. And thank you so much. It has crossed 100,000 sales in the US. So I have a very special guest, very good friend of mine, and he's a champion of many things. Let us welcome Abhijit Iyer Mitra.
Praise be, brothers and sisters in Christ.
Why are you wearing this tiara today? This looks like
It's
Caesar's.
not a tiara, it's Caesar's laurel wreath. I bought it actually, I didn't buy it in Rome, I bought it in Athens. And I think it's very nice. I think it kind of suits me. So, yeah.
You know, in India, the Italian queen is being interrogated by the enforcement directorate.
Yes.
So is India snatching her tiara or what is happening right now? Because people are now blaming ED for everything. Earlier, they were blaming CBI.
Look, the thing is, the issue in question, the National Herald case, is such a transparent, open, shut book of fraud. It's the government has tried everything to not go after Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi. It's just when the crime is so blatant, they have to do something. Especially because the person who first found out about National Herald was Dr. Swamy.
That's right.
And the current government doesn't like Dr. Swamy, so they have to take away credit from him. So they have to pursue the case. Remember, if you look at India, the BJP was always like 120 to 140 seat party. At most fluke, they would go up to 160. Today, on average, they are a 280 to 300 seat party. And this is where the halfway mark in the House is 272. So remember, who is responsible for these additional 150, 160 odd seats that the BJP is getting? Remember, Modi is probably responsible for another 20 seats. But Rahul Gandhi is responsible for another 40 seats. Sonia Gandhi is responsible for another 20 seats. These so-called fact-checking organizations like Mohammed Zubair and Alt News are responsible for about 10, 15 seats. NDTV, again, your primary opposition channel, is responsible for another 10 to 15 seats. So these people, they are as important to the survival of the BJP as Narendra Modi is. They are as important to the parliamentary majority of the BJP as Narendra Modi is. So I can tell you, when they decide to go on any case against these people, they are the people who are more upset than the people actually being targeted is in fact the government. Because they're always scared when they throw these people in jail that they're going to lose their parliamentary majority, because they're normally so incompetent. The only thing hiding their incompetence is people like Alt News, NDTV, Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi.
Very aptly put, because these now the woke capital of the world. Now, India has been suffering from wokeism from, say, from the time of cancel culture of Hindus from very long time, very long time. The woke capital of the world is the US now. So all the wokeism started in the US to cancel the Christian control over the American institutions. That's the main point of the wokeism is. Now in India, they are using the same philosophy to destroy Hinduism or attack people who follow Hindutva or propagate their own culture, which is propagated by majority of the Indians are like that. So why we have to just import why the left? I mean, left is bankrupt today, and so shockingly, I'll say it's bankrupt because the right, I seen your memes and other things. They come up with such good memes and other things, intelligent conversations happen. So why India has to import everything, including wokeism in India?
So thankfully, wokeism hasn't really come into India because there's so many battles for social justice left to fight, like gay equality, trans equality, even gender parity. You can't have gender parity in a pre-industrial society. It's non-existent. What is industrialization? It's the application of chemical energy to the production process. And what it does is it negates the only advantage that a man has over a woman, which sheer physical strength, muscle power. Right. So once you introduce chemical energy into the mix, it becomes natural that men and women become equal. You cannot have gender parity then in a pre-industrial society. Now, in these circumstances, what happens is wokery can't really find a place for it to germinate. They try to import it, it doesn't work in much the same way. See, communism works when you intend to industrialize or you are industrialized. Works in the sense it picks up as a political philosophy. In India, where you are talking about workers' rights and things like that, where most of the people own the land that they till, it's not going to sell. So India is surprisingly, it's India's backwardness that keeps it immune to wokery and communism and things like that. Uh, but the issue is you will always have a kind of a deluded bunch of people on top who think that you can cut, copy, paste this onto the Indian situation.
Coming back to Italian phenomena. Now, Nancy Pelosi is Italian, Sonia Gandhi is Italian, and many of the American leadership.
And Nancy is American. She was born in America.
Yeah, but
Unlike
Italian
Sonia
origin.
was born in Italy.
Italian
Yeah,
origin.
yeah. That's like saying I'm German because my ancestors invaded India 3,500 years back.
And their passports. The passports, once you're even if you're Italian descent, you still get Italian. You don't need.
Yes, you can always reclaim your Italian passport. Yes,
Exactly. Like so,
it's
all
it's called jus sanguis, the
yes.
law of blood in reclaiming your citizenship. You don't even have to speak Italian if you have Italian blood. If you can prove you have Italian blood, you can become a citizen.
No, by the way, many Indians they went to the DNA test, and if they
Hmm.
find out some person is Italian, they can apply. There was some.
No, you can't. There's actually a very strict procedure for it. You have to show. See, I could theoretically claim that I'm also Italian. No, because you look at the north of Italy is technically Germanic,
That's right.
and my ancestors who invaded India 3,500 years back were also Germanic. They were like me with blonde hair and blue eyes and names like Helmut and
Hey,
uh, uh, Heydrich.
Abhijit, my India has the largest percentage of light eyes. You know that in the world, largest percentage, and my entire family
As you
has
can
light
tell.
eyes.
Look at my.
Yeah, my eyes are light.
See, can you see my blue eyes and my blonde hair? See,
My
this is my
my
blue eyes, and look at my blonde hair. Can you see? In German, we call it uh, der goldenes Haar. Ich
mm,
habe goldenes Haar
if you see my cousins and they all have light
und
eyes.
und blaue Auge.
Yeah. In my family, and there are many family, largest percentage of light eyes. So when they, okay, see the why said the Italian connection is, so we had Chicago, we had Italian mobs, we have many parts of we have many parts of New York which has Italian mob culture, which is there, which is the business cartels they have. The in India also we have seen the Congress party, and I'm today focused on India. I'm going to come to other issues. I know your questions are coming for Russia, but the in India also there is a large sections of uh, same mindset is there where if you look at the Italian mob, there's a one boss, Godfather, and they
Mm.
control everything. And now their queen is being questioned, and I'm seeing all kinds of reports coming out where she is not answering, she's feigning she's sick, and she's doing so. Do you think the Congress party is lost because of this family culture or very tight rule?
So, the funny thing was one of the good things that Mussolini did. Surprise, surprise. was, he got rid of the mafia in the south of Italy, in Sicily and in Calabria, the Ndrangheta and the Cosa Nostra. You know who brought the mafia back in to Italy? It was America. It was actually the American occupation of Italy in the 1940s at the end of the Second World War that brought the entire mafia infrastructure back to Italy. Nobody wants to talk about it, but you read people like, is it Gattopardo by Lampedusa? I think it is. But if you read those people, you realize then that, how much America reintroduced this entire mafia system to Italy. Now, in India, it's different. Remember, in any pre-industrial society, which India is, you will have these kind of business cartels and which initially start off as social protection. Remember, the triad started off as social protection for the poor till they became criminal enterprises in China. So it's very similar. You see similar practices throughout the world in pre-industrial societies where you have these guilds and tongs and associations which ultimately turn criminal once they acquire power. They start off for protection, but ultimately they turn criminal. In India, it just so happens that this was a very different kind of thing. I wouldn't compare it to the Italian mafia at all. I would actually compare it more to Pakistan, where it's a kind of a ruling nexus between landlords, the military, and industry. And that's what you very much have in India as well. And all of this coalesced into the Congress Party, which basically represented everything for everyone. And its base of power was controlling all the local mafiosi, the different kinds of tongs or guilds or whatever you want around, which were very good at marshalling votes and getting people out of their homes to vote. So it's quite different.
One of the things which really comes to the mind is, like, for example, when we talk about India and US, is we both countries are democracies. In India, and particularly the democratic institutions, due to the multi-party system, is much more stronger than the US, because US we don't have an option, and in a way it is good. What do you have to say on that?
Look, I always prefer a multi-party system, and I'll tell you why. The main reason is that a multi-party system allows for a great nuance of views. A bi-party system, you are essentially forced to conform, shoehorn yourself in with everybody else. Okay, and people can't choose a specific platform. Whereas in India, you'll have about 100, 150, 200 different parties, each of which represent a different aspiration, a regional aspiration, an economic aspiration, a social justice aspiration, you name it. If you've ever felt it, there will be a party for you in India. So it's very, very different from the way I personally feel it's a much more mature form of democracy than the American or any bi-party system for that matter.
See, the US, the one thing, I'm very closely involved with the American political system, and one thing I really find a problem is that you have to conform to the like you correctly said. I'm also a big favor of multi-party system in the US, because every community has a different need. Like I really like Hispanics a lot personally, because we can relate to them as Indians. and I am also like the Europeans because we can relate to them as well, especially the English speaking Europeans. But there is a problem with the other cultures, like for example East European cultures coming to the US, and they have a some kind of bias towards the brown skin much higher than a regular European or a Mexican. Yeah, Mexicans, they
You
look like
mean
us.
bias? You mean bias
Cultural
against a
bias,
brown
cultural
skin?
Christian Catholic bias
Against.
against the brown skins.
Mm,
Like the
mm.
if you find someone
But
Polish.
see, this is no. I would disagree with that. I
Now
think
I'll
it
tell
has
you
more to
it's
do
my
with
experience. It's my experience.
okay,
Yeah.
because in my experience, it's usually the bias against brown skin comes from the working class sections of society in Eastern Europe. You could see this in West Germany. The kind of comments you'd hear in recently reunited East Germany through the 1990s and early 2000s, you don't hear it anymore because it's kind of been equalized. You would have never heard in West Germany. Okay. Similarly, I grew up in the USSR. You never heard the kind of crap you hear when you go to Moscow or St. Petersburg now. So it's very much a case of societal, a lack of resources makes you meaner. And we have to separate this kind of racism from being opposed to illegal immigration and things like that in America. Because remember, the more illegal immigration you have, the more you are likely to feed racism. Why is there racism in society? It's very easy to say people are scum. They're not. You have to understand that it comes about because of an insecurity. It comes about because of a fear. It comes about because of a lack of education. And you can't say that this is your problem. See, this is like saying, uh, you know, uh, we can legislate our way out of violence. You can't legislate your way out of racism. You can't just integrate your way out of racism. It doesn't work. When you have a problem, you don't legislate your way out of it. You solve the problem and then you do other things. Uh, Unfortunately, the kind of debates we're stuck in, we'll never actually get to this. I find both right and left are quite vacuous on this. They both exploit it for their own ends.
You're absolutely right because the people who are marginalized, like for example, people who have seen some kind of deficiency of any resources in the past, they tend to be more racist towards other culture. That is absolutely right because the majority of such cases happen when somebody from a like a East European now many Ukrainians are here, so we know that when they come to this country, they have a natural bias against the brown skin. And now India, particularly because of the comedian Zelensky, because the comedian is like feeding, and we saw what happened in Ukraine also. So we see that in San
Oh,
Diego.
just quickly, it's Curzio Malaparte. The novel is Le Pelle.
Uh-huh.
This is the one by Curzio Malaparte. This is the book that all your viewers should read on how Mussolini had effectively the only good thing Mussolini did other than infrastructure building was that he got rid of the mafia. And it was the American army that deliberately reintroduced the mafia as a means of social control, eliminating fascists and things like that.
Yeah. No, thank you for showing that, and viewers get it. You must be having your libraries also, many of you, and you can read it over there too if you can't afford to buy over there. But it's a very small price. The See, coming to the favorite question being coming here, that that the U.S. presidents visit to Saudi Arabia and Middle East, and how does Abhijit view it? That's the question come.
Who going to Saudi Arabia?
Biden,
Biden.
Biden. He again shook the hand in the air. He did that again in Israel.
Well, he fist pumped with Mohammed bin Salman. Uh, Look, all up. I think between Israel, the Emirates, and Saudi Arabia, they've brought Biden to his knees. For him, imagine what a bitter pill it is. Mohammed bin Salman did not come to him. He could not show that he made Mohammed bin Salman. He could never get a confession. He could not get an apology out of Mohammed bin Salman. And Mohammed bin Salman did not come to visit him like a supplicant. He had to go begging to Mohammed bin Salman. And even there, Mohammed bin Salman spat on his face and said, "No, I'm not going to increase oil production. Screw you." So, what does it say? See, I was always taught, and this is a lesson I learned in America in terms of nuclear escalation. You never climb up a tree that you don't know how to climb down. So basically, you never escalate unless you know how to de-escalate. This man took on too many enemies all at the same time, and now he's forced to eat humble pie. And that's what I see it as. I see it as Biden's international tour of shame. And I love it.
While he's sipping a cup of Indian tea, and I'll ask him another question in this one. The second question has come from the audiences. So you got the views of Vijit on this trip, and which is being reported disastrously. Unfortunately, Abhijit, in America, the news is so polarized. Most of the facts are not told. CNN talks only Democrat points. Fox News only focus. Now, Fox News has also become boring now because they only work on criticizing what Biden is doing. They're doing the good opposition role. So the opposition is in the media, and regular Americans are cut off from it. Regular Americans have different problems: high gas prices, high insurance rates. Insurance has gone up, not gone down, has gone up, and the rents. So, you know, do you think the American politicians really understand what's going on with their country other than beating each other up? Because I don't see that. I'm an American, I'm living here, and I think that our problems are very different than what politicians talk about. And recently, the gas prices
I think, the Americanism, don't drink your own Kool-Aid. That's what's happening. Every politician in America is drinking their own Kool-Aid. There's nobody trying to build a bridge. It's just so polarized right now. But this is what happens in polarized societies. The problem of polarized societies is if you go past the stage. Do you remember, Adi, when we started this series of Q&A, I always said I had faith in America to heal itself. Because every time America made a mistake, it knew how to pull itself out of it. Like you look at the McCarthy witch hunts, uh, uh, segregation, whatever. America ultimately did the right thing and knew how to pull itself out of stupid and wrong policies spectacularly. And when it happened, it was sudden, it was deliberate, and it was thought out. Today, I don't see that happening. And I'm sitting and wondering, we've been taught all these lessons about how, democracy is a self-healing process. Essentially, the genius of democracy is that it acts like an early warning radar. It shows you where tension is brewing, etc., through unpopularity, and you sort out those problems. You see it coming from afar, which can't happen in non-democratic societies because it's a closed information loop. You only see what you want to see. So I'm absolutely stunned in a way that America is just doubling down. Both sides are just doubling down on things, and nobody's actually trying to find a way to work things out. But it's not just in America. Look at what's happening in Germany. They're doubling down on their anti-nuclear dogma, and they want to keep their gas consumption rates high. So they want Greece, Spain, and Italy to reduce their gas consumption. Right? And at the same time, they're shutting down their own nuclear reactors, which is the one thing producing clean energy right now in Germany. So it's very, very problematic. You're not seeing it. I think the only place where we're not seeing too much of this, and this is open to interpretation, is France, where there is a significant divide between right and left, but at least everybody agrees on the basics. Nobody disagrees on the basics. They just disagree on how to carry out a fairly similar vision, social vision, if not the means of doing it.
See, the social justice has become such a big problem for many Americans. I tell you, like yesterday I went to a place, and I'm inviting all the our event is was there. By the time this video goes out, I think tomorrow it is going to go out. Tomorrow is our event. And the in the event, one thing comes to the mind: why Hinduism? It is the Catholic American asking the question. Even though the Constitution of USA gives the right to everyone to propagate their religion, profess their religion, and so the social, and this is not the question asked by Republicans or conservatives. This is the question asked by the leftist wing people. The
Mm.
evangelicals are mostly leftist there. So, like the the social justice has come to a level where it is looks like a pure crusade now, crusade to some extent against anyone
Mm.
not believing their viewpoint, and
But that's
they view
but see
Hindu.
that's what everything has become right now.
Yeah,
You tell me uh, uh, any country that's not like that anymore. Literally every country I know is now like this.
no, but
So
India.
it's not something.
Hmm. Like if you look at
Even
in,
India.
y- I mean, India is again going. See, the in US, it's pro-Christian movement, whether it's Democrat or Republican, it doesn't matter. In India, is anti-Hindu, is anti-majority. It's totally
No,
different.
no, I don't agree with that at all. I see a lot of anti-Christian shit come up. They're constantly everything Christian is bad, everything not Christian is good, unless you're a Hindu, in which case you're evil incarnate. Right, but you look at what Ilhan Omar, the kind of drivel she keeps spewing. It's all that uh, basically the this thing is white male privilege is Christian and everything Christianity is bad and evil, even though it was Christianity that developed. Well, it was technically industrialization, but to Christianity's credit, it didn't oppose it and allowed it to happen mostly. That uh, uh, led to this freedom of thought and ideas and things like that in Europe.
No, we'll do a separate debate on this monotheism versus pantheism and how the
No,
shaman.
this isn't monotheism versus pantheism. This is the impact of industrialization on religion. It's very different from monotheism versus pantheism.
I see industrialization has brought the openness of thought and other things, and also a progressive mindset. But if you look at I mean, most of the Hindus don't follow their culture in any way. But if you look at the historical documents that we have by Brahmagupta and other places, we do have good inventions and original thoughts at one point of time. And we are still living, like you said in the last show, one of the last shows you said that we are still living in the past. We are not focusing on the current and the future, which is a
Correct.
absolutely right observation. The problem comes in when I look at the American society today, the it's everything has become black or white, black or white, black or white. The problem is what happens to the people who don't believe in black or white. Like I don't believe in the color of the skin. I don't believe in that. I don't have that mindset because I'm 100% gold standard Indian. Other than me, nobody came out of India. So I'm the maybe the first family person to come out of India. So the black and white or the identification or profiling of people has become commonplace in the US, which was not there 20 years back. I came here very long back in this country. Now, not there. It was not there before. Now it is so stark. Like if a and please, I forgive me, but I'll just tell you my experiences only, but not others' experiences. Like a Mexican American, great friends. I have very good friends over there. They have to hire only Mexican Americans. Indian
Mm.
American is the only community which hires irrespective of the background. Everyone goes either he's my church member. I know a lot
Mm.
of businesses here. He's a church member. He's a church goer. He believes in God. or he believes like this is the hiring pattern right now. Like even though it is against the laws of United States, is equal opportunity employers, but this is what is goes on for the small businesses, because small businesses are majority owned by mom and pop stores or the smaller businesses. I'm not talking about
So,
corporations.
what happens with small businesses is there is a need for social trust. Okay. And social trust is very, very important because they operate in an environment where, a lot of power is delegated in a very short chain of command. So it's the same old concept that you seek validation in identity circles. It's a very natural thing. There's
Yeah.
nothing odd or this thing about it. I would say even with Indians, the thing is you probably won't come across too many Indian, because if you look at the statistics of Indians in America, they are overwhelmingly urban, well-to-do. You won't find too many Indian au pairs and things like that. I think the only real blue collar Indians out there are New York taxi cab drivers and truck drivers. But other than that, it's very rare to come across Indian blue collar workers, which is why if you had more of them, I'm sure you'd see it.
So the question is like India copies many things of the West. Why not they copy? So in India also the problem is like most of the Hindus, they are pretty much open minded and they recruit from everywhere else in all communities. But we see that like Lulu Mall. I was reading the statistics of the Lulu Mall in I visited one of them in Kochi last year. Now, overwhelmingly, they were hiring from a particular community, Muslim community only in the locally. Overwhelmingly,
Mm.
and I found it very interesting to observe that such a large business operation is very religious oriented. So there is instances in India where people are going in for community based recruitment only, excluding others or recruiting
But
only.
you look at Reliance. Tell me one big Muslim you know in Reliance. Tell me one Muslim you know in Adani.
No, I know some of the top employees there. One of them, the Muslims there, top one of the
Yes,
top.
the exception that proves the rule.
Right.
Overwhelmingly, it's a vegetarian. It's not even, if forget Hindus. The Adanis, the Ambanis are overwhelmingly vegetarian Hindu employers.
I mean, so the see the thing is like these kind of things they destroy the nation more than anything else. Like if people become uh, like more community oriented, it destroys a nation as a country. But what is wrong? My question is, what is wrong if Hindus start employing majority Hindus if the other people are also following the same rule? What is wrong there?
Sorry, repeat the question.
What is wrong if Hindus employ more Hindus? What is wrong?
Nothing, nothing. What prevents them from?
Yeah.
It's a lack of availability. No, in India, it happens all the time.
So this another question has come from the Ukraine. So the in the Ukraine war, and I think the Ukrainian president or something, he's just said that the war is going to go till November or till the winters, and they want to avoid that. Is it really in their control to avoid the war going extended till winters?
Well, it's going. Winter is when the Russian army is most effective. So that is when they will want to do all the fighting. Nobody else wants to fight in winter, but the Russians definitely want to fight in winter.
That was a earlier prediction. Also, we had said on the show that it's going to go till November or December in any way. So, Abhijit, one last question has come in, and on this show is that where do you see India? Because I think India is also importing a large amounts of oil now from Russia, but there are some defaults in the gas supplies to India, and they may be the fake reports also because a lot of propaganda is going on. So, where does the US policy stand, or what do you foresee the US policy towards India going forward? Because India will continue an independent path, and you know that the US, many agents of the Undersecretary Nuland, Victoria Nuland, and other people, they have been openly emphasizing a some kind of indirect embargoes on India, indirect. So, where do you see the US India relations if the war continues beyond winters now, not just winters?
So, look, India's position here is very clear. We are not kowtowing to Western sanctions. We do what's good for our people. We will buy oil and gas from wherever is necessary, and we will refuse export licenses to our grain whenever necessary to meet domestic shortages. For us, internal stability is the main thing, and we don't care where we get our oil, grain, rice from in order to maintain that internal stability. It's that simple. For the rest of the world, like I said, you're seeing it's getting to, not rest of the world, your NATO, but NATO countries and NATO aligned countries. They are the ones who are extremely dogmatic, and there's nothing we can realistically do about it.
Abhijit, I was in a Republican dinner a few days back, and I can tell you their world means just Europe and USA and Canada. Only only the allies. That's their world. That's the meaning of the world. Africa, Asia is not their world. Okay. So people have to, when they say a world view, that is the Western view only, which is the Christian countries and not even South America. They don't consider them pure Christians. So the only the US, UK, you know, in India, we think the world as all continents, or Indian origin people think the world is whole continent. But if you look at these policymakers, their view world is just Europe and USA and North America, pretty much, and Australia and New Zealand to some extent. So do you think the Indians understand this also very well?
I think the Indians understand how to play shuffle multiple decks. Okay, we've always played with it. You look the way we survived. Look, we were the only country that was colonized by Christianity or Islam that did not turn Muslim or Christian. Unlike, say, the Philippines or Vietnam, where Vietnam, a huge number of people were converted to Christianity. In India, they were not. We were under Muslim occupation for 500 years. Did we convert? No. Spain, at one point of time, was a Muslim majority. Okay, so when the dogmatic and the ideologous invade us or coerce us, we've always found different cards to play. A certain, sorry to use this word, but shiftiness, which allows us to do our own thing. Ultimately, we're the ultimate followers of Frankie Sinatra and his, famous "I did it my way." So we understand, we know how to do it my way.
So the global left is driving the agenda. Like if you look at World Economic Forum, anything they say in World Economic Forum, Biden says as it is. The British Prime Minister used to say, now he's changed. And Indian leftists say the same thing. Liberal world order. We spoke about it last time. So do you really think that the global left is
Okay,
losing
let's
momentum?
call it the let's not call it the global left. The left has essentially become a tool. These new leftists, they won't know what leftism is if it hit them in their face like a with a hammer. Okay, it's the old liberals who have hijacked the left and have turned them into mindless automatons to follow whatever the old liberal order believes. And it's fantastic for them because they want a world where they own everything and you rent things, but you do not own it. Remember Klaus Schwab's famous line, "You will own nothing and you will be happy." That is giving over a kind of control to the state, which should absolutely never, ever happen. Okay, it can be done in certain things. So, for example, like land or property, you have to have a sort of equation where, as long as it is sustainable in areas of the country where it is sustainable, people can own land. But when population growth becomes too much, where population pressure becomes too much, the land is given out in 49 and 99-year leases to people till such time as the population pressure comes down. Now, Singapore, for example, you can't own land. You lease it out. It's 49 and 99-year leases. And that's perfect for Singapore. But if you're living in a state like, say, Omaha or Nebraska, where it's thousands of nobody within sight and thousands of miles of open grassland, it makes no sense, right? And when you have population pressure, it makes sense as a price stabilization mechanism where the supply and demand forces don't operate in a way that most of your money goes into purchasing unproductive land as opposed to creating productive jobs and paying workers a higher wage. Because then it becomes cyclic. The more you pay, the more land goes up, the price of land goes up, the more supply and demand goes out, and 90% of it just gets taken up in useless expenditure. So there is a certain capitalist logic even to some things in socialism, like, so, for example, land being given out on lease. But if you tell me that it is one solution for all, where you permanently give up ownership of land, where you permanently give up ownership of everything, I am not willing to accept that.
True. I
And
mean,
nobody should.
I
And
mean,
nobody should, because once you've given up something to the state, you can never get it back.
well, people do not know President Obama has a $10 million sea-facing place, and the climate
I think
event is.
everybody knows it became very famous during COVID and his birthday party, where everybody were talking about it and how the entire partying happened without masks, even though they were telling everybody to wear
And
masks.
everyone is having a beachfront house, and these are the climate extremists. The climate. And I was reading
And
in.
and and if you remember in the Al Gore versus George Bush election, George Bush had the farm which was actually ecologically sustainable,
That's right.
and Al Gore was one that had that huge energy consumption house that had absolutely no sustainability features whatsoever.
No sustainability, and
And he won the Nobel Prize for losing the election and making a documentary.
I mean, Nobel Peace Prize. We should talk about the farcity of the Nobel Prizes. And anyway, anyone like the Padma Shri of India is like a farcical, most farcical any Padma award.
Well, now it's become good because with this government, you've seen that they actually, they're making an effort to actually give it to people who deserve it, as opposed to giving it to people who just got it because they were in the good books of some politician.
So we can say that post 2014 Padma awards are real. Before that were all fake, and they were returned by in any case many of them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Thank you so much, Abhijit, and thank you all the viewers for watching. And he gave more time to us today because he's happy with his tiara, with the Caesar, and then therefore he's happy. So he did that.
It's my laurel wreath, not my tiara.
Laurel wreath. All right, I get it. I get it. He knows more English than me. I don't know much. All right. Thank you so much. And thank you, Abhijit. And keep watching, subscribing, and sharing the videos. Thank you. Namaste.
That's a